Hi, I'm Julie again, and this is the third video in this video tutorial for how to make a memory bear. For this video, I'm going to be starting at step 15, which is to stitch the arms together, and then I'll show you how to actually attach them to the body and then put the head and body together, making the full bear. So I have my arms cut out and pinned. These parts are another place where we need to have a stuffing hole. So between these two pins is where I'm going to leave this unstitched, and that'll be the stuffing hole. Just lightly pin these to keep it together. And you'll see that I also didn't cut notches here. There are notches on the pattern. These ones were cut out kind of crazy. But I don't like to use the notches. I'd rather use pins to mark them. So I'm going to stitch these together, and then I will come back and show you how to attach them to the body. I have stitched these arms together, so this is what it looks like after stitching it. You'll see I left this part open for stuffing and did a few clips at the curve. And then this one you can see after it's turned inside out what it looks like, and there's the hole for stuffing. So we're going to take this, you'll need now your bare body, and I'm going to be working right at the top at the neck hole. So you take your right side out arm, you're going to want the curve toward the front, the stuffing hole toward the back of the bear, and that's how this bear is oriented. You're seeing this seam is on the front of the bear. This is the side. So what we're going to do is match up the arm on the top of the neck, and when you look at the pattern pieces, this is the body front, and you can see this big dot, and then on the body back there's a little dot, and on the pattern piece for the arm there's a big and a little dot. And so you're supposed to match these up. I don't mark my bears, so I just do this by feel, just for how I want the bear to look at the end. It's approximately halfway on either side of this seam. So I basically just match up the top here, and I'm going to pin this on with a couple pins. And I'm going to baste this onto here. So I'm just going to sew about 1/8 of an inch seam with a long stitch length just to keep it in place. Then afterwards we're going to sew the head to the body, and the seam will capture this arm. So we just want to attach it so it's tacked down with basting stitch. I will do that to both of the arms, and then we will put the whole thing together. I have now stitched the arms to the body with a basting stitch. So it's a nice long stitch length. It's at about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance here. So this is attached each side on the neck, and the curve is toward the front with the stuffing hole toward the back. So we now have this all ready to go, and we have to now turn the body inside out. So I'm going to put all of the arms and legs inside and just turn this inside out. I wanted to mention that when you're basting the arms on, you just want to be really careful not to catch the other side of the neck in your stitching. You want to basically, when you're stitching it, this is now upside down, but you basically take the one end and kind of push it away as you're sewing this end so that you don't get this caught underneath. Okay, so now I have the body inside out. This is the back. You can see the stuffing hole. This is the front. And I'm going to take the head, which I have here, right side out, okay, just like it is, And I usually fold it in half so I know where the nose is. And I'm going to point the nose toward the belly side so that the front is with the front, and put the head inside the body. Okay, just put this in here with the nose toward the front and match up this front seam first, just to make sure we've got a point of reference so it doesn't get turned around. And there's two ways to sew this that I've done this two ways. The first way is to sew it like this, so you have the outside up, and that way you have to push the rest of this back as you have this under the needle. Okay. The second way is to sew inside, and this is what I prefer. So then you have the needle comes down here, and you just have to deal with keeping the rest of this out of the way. So I'm going to pin on the inside so that we can sew on the inside. But if you're pinning on the outside, or if you're sewing on the outside, make sure you pin on the outside. So I'm just going to match these front seams and pin this, turn this around. It's like, that's a lot of layers at this point. Okay, just going to put 2 in there. And then what I'm going to do is go back, just like we did for the feet. I'm going to put the 4, I'm going to tack the 4 points here. So this is the back seam and the back of the head seam. I'm matching those together. And I'm going to pin those. Just want to make sure. And there are notches here in the back and the front to help you align, but the seams, it'll be visible if you don't match the seams. The notches won't be visible, so you want to go on the seams more than the notches. Same thing side to side, so we've got these, there's the arm is between, but we're going to still match up the 2 seams here. Pin on the inside. And now this is maybe like, with the seams folded out, it's like 6 layers of fabric, so it's a lot of thickness for both the pins to go through and then also the sewing machine. See, okay, so here's where, remember I've been pushing the seams open? Well, I didn't quite catch this one right, so it's a little bit folded over. What I'll do is I'll just give it a little clip so that the rest of it is free to fold back. Okay, just pin this. So you can see I've got this pinned and the neck matches pretty well. I mean, I'm going to put a couple more pins in here just between the 4 points that we already marked or pinned. But it matches up pretty well because I've done a good job keeping my seam allowance consistent so that the size of the neck is the same both on the head and on the body. One more pin in here just to keep the edges together. So I have this all pinned up, and this one I am going to show you how I sew it since it's a more difficult stitch to do. So go back over to the sewing machine. And I like to start on the back. So I'm going to flip this over. So the back seam, both the back of the head and the body back seam, is right here. It's pinned open, as you can see. And I'm going to start there and use a 1/4 inch seam and go all the way around. So you can see here what I'm doing is I'm kind of keeping my finger here so that I can pull this fabric out of the way. And that way it won't get caught in the stitching, and then I would have to rip it out and start over. So we're going to go here, and I just stop and pull this and readjust it every couple inches or so, maybe even every inch depending. Right now we're about to go through the arm, so this is pretty thick for my sewing machine. I'm gonna just sort of let things push through and keep readjusting the fabric so that I'm not catching any of the other side. Just want everything to be lined up and out of the way. So I'm readjusting the rest of the whole body and turning it so that it's not in the way. Taking some of the pins out so they're not getting in the way here. So here's where, see how it's starting to get in the way? You want to just make sure that's pushed back. And then this is, we're about to go on the second arm. Oh, it's getting caught. Just take some of the pins out. That's good. They're getting caught on each other. And so this is pretty thick. And with the arms, you want to make sure you have a 1/4 inch seam at least, maybe a tiny bit more, because you did put the basting in at around 1/8 of an inch, so you want to make sure that that's not visible when we turn this inside out. So we're back where we started, and I just have a nice strong seam there. I go back and forth a couple times. I am going to move back over here so you can see. Take the rest of my pins out. There's still a bunch of pins in here I just sewed over. Don't want to leave any pins in the bear, that's for sure. Wouldn't be a very nice teddy. Okay, so you can see now I have all the pins out, and this was where I started and ended. See, all the layers are stitched together on the outside and the inside. So we can now turn everything right side out. But because we have now sewn the head hole or the top hole, neck hole shut, the only way to turn everything out inside out is the stuffing hole in the back. So we're just going to pull the head and arms and legs through the stuffing hole. And it's a little bit of a tight fit, but it'll all fit out. Just going to pull these through. Okay. So now, just back up a little. You can see that I have what I call the bear suit, which is the unstuffed bear. The head attached to the body with the arms caught in that seam and the legs attached. So let me just show you the seam that we just sewed to sew everything together. So this is the seam at the neck, and it serves to both attach the head and body, but also to attach the arms. So they're just caught in this seam. It's nice and smooth, and our back and front seams match up really well. So everything is stitched together nice and strong. And this makes quite a cute bear. I like the arms that are attached at the neck. It's very cute. So this completes your bear suit. I will add another video quickly about closing up the stuffing holes by hand, but I'm going to stuff this bear, and the way that I stuff it is by hug testing. So I just stuff and squeeze the bear to the desired firmness. Some people like their bears a little more floppy, some people like their bears a little firmer. So I use the Polyfill brand stuffing and just give it a good hug test at the end. I will be back with one last video to show you how I sew that up.